day, ladies and gentlemen. How do we have on sound here? You picking me up at all?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am Torvald Torgarson, and I'm going to be taking you on a little trip back in time, back to the age of the Viking, with my program, which is called the Viking Home Companion. It's a collection of silly Viking stories and songs. The stories all have bits of medieval history, culture, and mythology built into them. And occasionally, in between the stories, I'll go back and I'll answer some of the questions about just what is real, what's made up, and so on. But just to get things started, you know, just about with every culture, they have their own particular holiday seasons. And at these holiday seasons, they have songs that they like to sing to celebrate those seasons. Well, we Vikings weren't no different. We have our own songs as well. And I'm going to sing one of those for you now. Now, you may recognize the melodies, because as we know, of course, people from later ages love to steal the melodies from older songs. But I'm going to be singing you the originals, all right? So we're going to start off with the first one here. It's the second month of Viking, just one more month to go. We haven't seen no Saxons here, but did all up them go. We're rowing south along the shore, there are no churches here, so it looks like we will have to go to Ireland next year. I crawl up from underneath my bench, my mouth tastes like a sheep. I was drinking beer till 4 a.m. and didn't get much sleep. Big laughs hanging o'er the side, his face is looking green. We snicker and we laugh at him, although it's really mean. We haven't seen no Saxons, and we're really getting bored. That Halfdan turns the tiller hard and heads right for the shore. It's the second month of Viking, there's one more month to go. We haven't seen no Saxons here, where did all of them go? We're rowing south along the shore, there are no churches here, so it looks like we will have to go to Ireland next year. The Archie's got his axes out, but no one wants to play. He throws these axes way too hard to catch them anyway. Big lass hanging o'er the side, his face is still real green. We're snickering and laugh again, although it's really mean. We still haven't seen any Saxons, and boy, we're getting bored. Then Halfdan turns his tiller hard and heads right for the shore. It's the second month of Viking, there's one more month to go. We haven't seen no Saxons here, where did all of them go? We're rowing south along the shore, there are no churches here, so it looks like we will have to go to Ireland next year. We pull the boat up on the sand and take a look around. We're wondering what Halfdan saw that made it come to ground. Halfdan's out behind the trees, lets out a big long sigh. He's hitching up his breeches as he walks back with a smile. We grab him by the collar and we tie him to the mast. The Archie's got a target now, how long will Halfdan last? It's the second month of Viking, there's one more to go. We haven't seen no Saxons here, where did all of them go? We're rowing south along the shore, there are no churches here, so it looks like we will have to go to Ireland next year. So let's go ahead and get on into the stories here. The name of the story here is known as Halfdans New Longbow. You know, it's been quite a while since I've been back to my old home village of Skognir. I've been out to Viking, you know. So I decided to go back, hook up with my good buddy Sven, catch up on all the news. And as we go up into town there, I notice there's a new longhouse up on the edge of town. So I go, hey Sven, what's with the new longhouse there? Did somebody new move into town? He says, nah, that's just a new Berserker longhouse, see? And we keep all the Berserkers up in there now. And whatever it takes to keep them happy, we send it to them. If they want beer, we send them beer. If they want food, we send them food. If they want women, well, we send them more beer. And I go up there and I look at the door, and you know, they got the door closed and there's a bar across the outside of it. And right above it says this little sign that says, in case of war, break bar. Okay? And then there was a whole lot of noise coming from inside there, so I go, hey Sven, what's with all the noise there? He goes and looks through the window and he says, oh, they're just having an axe catching contest. Okay, Sven, you mean they're having an axe throwing contest? No, they're having an axe catching contest. Ow! Whoa, boy, that's gonna leave a mark. Harold just missed. Whoa, that is not a pretty sight. So we decide to head down into town after that, and we see a whole lot of people hanging out down by the fjord. So we go to see what they're all looking at down there, and Halfdan's got himself a new longbow. And he's really happy about this new longbow, although he's a little sketchy the details of how he got it. Something along the lines of, the old owner don't need it no more. Yeah, sure, you betcha. And I have to admit, it's a pretty nice longboat. You know, there's a few axe blows on the side, a little fire damage up on the butt end, but other than that, it's in really good shape. But I also noticed there's about 30 oars to a side on that there longboat, and you know, nobody's going to tell Halfdan that's more able-bodied men if we got the whole village to row it. Well, okay, you know, Big Laugh, he did start to say something, but you know, a little foot-to-foot communication and a quick swim in the fjord, he quieted right down. Okay, well, maybe he didn't exactly quiet right down, because we weren't too far out the venture, and the fjord was mighty cold, and he wasn't too happy about taking no ice water bath. But at least he didn't say anything to Halfdan, and that's the good thing. So anyway, like I said, you know, Halfdan, he's pretty happy about this new longboat of his, and he decides he wants to go oar dancing. Now, this is a problem, because as I said, that's more able-bodied men, and we got the whole village to man the oars there. So we piled the whole village into the boat, all except the Berserkers. We kept them up there in their longhouse. The whole village into the boat, and some places we got 2 and 3 kiddies to an oar, hoping they can kind of just hold it down. Well, anyway, he goes and he jumps out of the back of the boat, he lands on the oars, he runs up the side of the boat, he jumps in the front of the boat, we all let go of the oars on one side, we're running to the other side, we're trying to get the oars out before he jumps off the front of the boat, and we don't make it. And he lands right down there in the vodka, right next to Big Laugh, and he ain't no happier about taking the white water bath than Big Laugh is, I can tell you that. About that time, we decided it was a good idea to go back up into town because nobody wanted to be there but Halfdan came up out of the vodka. He may not be a berserker, but he ain't all that far off, neither. Well, that's the story from the village of Skog here, and I'll let you know the next time I go back for a visit. Yeah, sure, you betcha. So with a show of hands here, how many people know what a berserker is? Anybody? Okay, let me give you a quick education here about a berserk. This is where we actually get the word berserk from. These were Viking warriors that could work themselves into such a frenzy in battle that they didn't feel pain. They didn't feel wounds. In fact, if you cut their arm off, they were just as likely to pick it up and hit you with it as they were to fall over dead. They were essentially considered the tactical nuclear weapon of the Viking age. The ultimate point-and-shoot weapon. You just point them in a direction, say kill, and stay out of the way. You didn't worry about it until the battle was over and see how many of them come dragging themselves back. The thing was, though, is that as indispensable as they were in combat, you really didn't like to have these guys around all that much when they weren't actively fighting. Because as much as the rest of Europe thought of the Vikings as being loud, obnoxious, smelly, and violent, the Vikings thought of the Berserkers as loud, obnoxious, smelly, and violent. The problem was, of course, back in those days, you never really did know when you were going to be in combat, so you always had to have a few of these guys around. All right? So then the story here I just mentioned about the Berserker Longhouse, that was actually something that they did. They had a compound that was always set aside just for the Berserks, and you literally did everything in your power to keep them up there and keep them happy. Because the moment they got bored, damage was going to ensue. Property damage, personal damage, livestock damage, it didn't matter. They got bored, something got broken. All right? But as you can imagine, most people didn't think of Berserks as being all that smart. Well, my next story is going to demonstrate to you, while they may not necessarily be all that smart, they actually aren't stupid either. You know, there's an awful lot of people that like to make fun of the Berserks, tell jokes about how dumb they are, and I have to admit that I have done my fair share. But recently, I have come to the realization that Berserks are not stupid. You see, Berserks are just simple. They have learned as a group that there isn't a problem in the world, with the exception of women, that cannot be resolved by the application of one of the 4 solutions. And the 4 solutions in no particular order are: eat it, drink it, burn it, kill it.